Welcome today to our Avanti Women's webinar, How to Be a Goal Digger. Coach and consultant Michelle Hamelin shares with us strategies on how to set SMART goals and keep yourself motivated.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate Avanti Women getting me onto this webinar today, and I hope that you get a lot out of it. I think that high achievers who are on this webinar are just raring to go, and you want to set yourselves up for success. I have crammed a lot of material into this, so I may go a little quickly, but that's okay. Just get your pen and paper ready, and let's get started. So a little bit about me. I've got a corporate background in human resources, and more recently, I've been a coaching consultant for the last, 8 or 9 years. I started doing that after I'd gone back to school to get my MBA, and I've been loving every minute of it ever since. Today, it's about goal setting. So the things we're going to cover that I really think you're going to appreciate. One single strategy that will instantly make you 42% more likely to accomplish your goals. The dimensions to consider when writing your goals, and they're not the same ones that you hear all the time. The beliefs that you may have that are holding you back, and how to set SMART goals and keep yourself motivated if you feel stuck. This is just one of my favorite goal setting quotes. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, have you ever felt stuck? You know, like you're spinning your wheels and you can't get any traction no matter how hard you try. Maybe you had a weight loss goal. You want to eat well, exercise regularly, maintain a healthy weight, but somehow life seems to come in and sabotage all your efforts. You have a busy workload and it makes you miss your gym time, or maybe it was birthday party day at work and there was cake in the conference room. Alternatively, maybe you have a relationship goal. You really want to improve the level of intimacy you have with your spouse or significant other, or you want to improve your relationship that you have with your kids. Maybe you want to recapture something that you used to have, or something new that you want to develop, but you keep getting derailed by other priorities. And then you worry that the people that matter most are getting the short end of the stick. And maybe if you're thinking that, maybe they are, but you're not exactly sure how to fix it. Or maybe you're an entrepreneur and you have a business goal. You have a dream of getting that promotion, finally starting that business, or you want to bring your existing business to a higher level of success, but you're not sure how you're going to make the headway to be successful. We've all had that disappointment of setting a goal and failing to achieve it. Like, it's a never-ending joke about setting New Year's resolutions and how we've all failed them by January 2nd. So if you're cynical about setting around new goals for this year, you're not alone. But we'll start the year off with the best of intentions, and sometimes the progress does come to a stop. So here's something I want to point out to you. If you set another round of goals, you may not achieve them. Certainly, there are many factors you can't control, and that's why it's even more important to take responsibility for the elements that you can control. And that's where goal setting comes in. If you look at the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talks about the circle of concern and the circle of influence. When you focus on your circle of concern, you have less focus and energy on your circle of influence because it takes up all your energy. And when you work on your circle of influence over which you have control, your circle of influence actually expands. You spend your energy on what is effective. And you have the power to keep your life and your business moving forward. You just need a strategy. So that's why I'm going to go through 7 major steps to help you conquer your goals. So common question I get is, how do I set goals? What goals should I set? And what I always come back with is you need to start off with clarifying your priorities. There's 3 questions to consider. So get your pen and paper ready for this one. At the end of my life, What will I want to have achieved? Or, from a different side of things, what would make me say, wow, look what I accomplished? The second question, what will I regret not doing? And the third one, what will matter most to me? And that's kind of like how you hear people will never say that they'd wish they'd spent more time at the office on their deathbed. So when you're setting goals, one of the major mistakes people make is having tunnel vision. They only set goals in one area of their lives. Now, how many times have you made a list of, say, 10 goals and it was filled with only career goals or business goals? But they didn't make goals around your health or important relationships, your relationships at home, and how things impact the energy that you bring elsewhere in your life. Your physical health impacts on your work and your capacity to take on an aspirational project. So in order to be effective, our goals need to address the various aspects of your life. Here are some of the components to think of. And again, you might want to write these down. So I have 12 dimensions that I focus on. Here are the first 4. Important relationships. So these are your love relationships, whether you're single and loving it, or you're in a relationship or you desire one. It also includes your family life, whether it's your spouse, children, parents, or siblings. And then there's friendships. So how strong is your support network? For example, do you have at least 5 people you know who have your back, whom you really love having around? And then adventures. How much time do you get to do the things that you love? You know, whether it's travel, experiencing the world, or doing the things that open you up to new experiences and excitement. And then the fourth one is environment. So this is the quality of your home, your car, your work in general, the spaces where you spend your time. And just a little note here, I know that things are falling apart when my car, the interior, gets messy. And just spending that 5 minutes of grabbing all the Tim Hortons cups out of there and any of the bologna that my kids have left in the car just kind of helps me get straightened up again. And it's just how the environment helps, well, can help you move along, or it can clutter you and stop you from getting places. And then health and fitness. Is your health and fitness where you want it to be? And that's all the dimensions. So, you know, actual health, your weight, can you, press so many pounds, whatever is important to you. Intellectual life. Are you learning and growing? How many books do you read? How many seminars do you attend? Like even this one, this counts as a seminar that you're attending. Education should not stop after you graduate. There's a stat out there that says, so many percent Americans don't even read a book after they finish high school, and, even less after they finish university. So do you want to be in that group, or do you want to be in the intellectually curious side of things where, you can grow yourself and develop yourself? A coach I work with reads 1 book a week, which means she reads over 50 books a year. She does take a week or 2 off in there, but a book a week. And most of these that she reads are nonfiction, because she's mastering her craft in what she does. So every book she finds in that area of study, she reads. I'm not quite as accomplished as she is, which is why she's my coach. But I tend to read at least 1 nonfiction book a month, just to give you perspective. Skills. So are you improving the skills that you have for your career? Because, if part of your goals for this year are to, get some sort of promotion or a new job, are you preparing yourself to have the right skills you need to be that person? Do you have skills that make you unique? Are you growing towards mastery, or are you stagnating? And And number 8 is spiritual life. So while for many, a spiritual life includes a relationship with their God, it doesn't have to be that way. It could also include meditation or yoga practices, the things that keep you balanced and peaceful. And then 4 more dimensions. So number 9 is finances. So are your finances where you want them to be, or are you living month to month? How much have you saved for a rainy day? Are you saving for retirement? When I started on my self-development journey, The Wealthy Barber had just come out, and now he's come out with a new version. But, the whole concept of paying yourself first was kind of new back then. Um, you know, Putting aside 10% of your earnings, to help you be successful. Career or business. Are you growing, climbing the ladder, excelling, or do you feel like you're stuck in a rut? Is your business thriving or is it stagnating? Your creative life. Do you paint or do you write? Do you play a musical instrument? Do you take photographs? Do you have any channel that helps you explore your creativity? I mean, I tend to knit, crochet, quilt. Those are my big things. But every now and then, about twice a year, I go out to a paint night just to explore something else. I also play the flute until my dog starts howling and then I stop. It's not that I'm a bad player, it's just he doesn't like the noise. And then community contributions. Are you giving or contributing or playing any role whatsoever in your community? I mean, it doesn't have to be massive. I volunteer with the dog rescue, which is how we got our dog, but we also foster other dogs. And, that's just one example of contributing to the community. So these are my 12 dimensions that I've adapted from various things that I've participated in over my life. You may have different ideas or different wording for what's important to you and what kind of elements define who you are and what you want to be. So what I recommend is you take these 12 dimensions and tweak them so they suit your needs. And if you are able to tweak them so they suit your needs, and that's just absolutely fantastic, because then you're taking what you're learning from me and you're making it your own. So go ahead and use these. I'm giving you mine to jumpstart your thinking process, and then, play along as you feel you can do. Now, like I said, you don't have to focus on these dimensions, but you need to be aware of how the various aspects of your life will be impacted by your goals in a certain area. So if you are living month to month, it's hard to maybe focus on your creative life because you don't have any resources to focus on your creative life. If you do decide to create goals across all 12 areas, don't be surprised if you find that things start to shift. Because once you start setting goals in various areas and you start making progress towards them, you're actually harnessing the power of your subconscious, and opportunities that you didn't really see will suddenly appear right below your nose, and you'll notice them. And it's because you've set goals in these various dimensions, and that's how you up level. So your action item is to list 7 to 10 of your top priorities. You don't have to do all 12, but try hit a bunch. Now pause just for a moment so you can jot down a couple just to get yourself started. Like I said, you don't have to cover all the components, but do make sure you have something that addresses your career or your finances or something like that. Now I'm going to give you an example of how to write your goals. So there's several key qualities that make goals smart. And this is quite traditional, as you have seen probably in different things at work or whatever. So the only thing I really changed was the word realistic. So specific. The more specific you are with your goals, the easier they are to work towards and achieve. If you've ever struggled to get started because your goal's kind of fuzzy, you know, I've did that in the past. But if you get clear here, you can really establish what your outcomes are and what results you want. You can be more successful. And then measurable. So a measure lets you know that you've achieved a goal, because how do you know you're done, right? So if you're tracking your progress, you know you're achieving something. And again, that's another harness of your subconscious. So how would you know your goal is complete? You need to have a target. It could be a financial amount, it could be a count, it could be a percentage, some other measure. Actionable. So actionable goals are within your control. If you pick something that's really out, in Mars, then you don't necessarily have control over that. But like when I was talking about, your internal control and your external control and losing focus, same thing applies here. Make sure that the steps in your goals are things that you can actually do. For example, winning the lottery isn't a SMART goal. You have no control over that. Realistic. So you need to feel good about your goals, but they need to be challenging enough to inspire you and believe that you can achieve it. So they need to be almost a little scary. So one of the words we still use is BHAG. So it's a big, hairy, audacious goal. It makes you nervous, it makes you a little tingly. You get it. Your brain doesn't know the difference between fear and excitement. So you almost have to train it to and adapt it to being used to being excited about something. But fear is just like a tiny little piece, like tiny little step aside. Like there's this great line in the sand, and on this side is fear, and the other side is excitement. So make sure your goals are realistic, but stretched enough that you're getting that tingly sensation. You're a little bit scared and kind of excited about it. And then time bound. So goals that motivate most people have dates associated with them, or some sort of quarterly check-in or whatever. So is there a specific date you're aiming towards? Like a lot of people want to lose 20 pounds before they get married or something like that. If not, what might be realistic? You need to consider your lifestyle, your other responsibilities, and other life events that could get in the way. So here's an example of a SMART goal that I've worked on with one of my clients. So she wanted to get more sales. Specifically, she's a health coach, and she wrote an ebook. So she wanted to double the sales of her ebook. So her specific goal is to double the sales. Her measurable goal aspect of the goal is to increase the revenue from her health ebook from $10,000 to $20,000. Now, is it actionable and within her control? So then we had to look at, what could she do to have control over that? Because you can't just, throw it out into the universe and say, I hope people buy my book. The first one is to create a new exciting front cover, because it was kind of blah. It was just purple with some yellow letters. So she got some graphics and a graphic designer there. Two, create a marketing action plan. So one of her tactics was to ask 25 friends to read her book and then review it on Amazon. And then three, because one way to make money is to increase the price, she increased the price from $9.95 to $12.95. So that, and then time bound. She wanted to do this by November 30th, 2019. So she's already working on it. She's got her new cover. We reviewed that the other day, and she started listing the names of her friends that are going to do the reading and the review. And let's see what else. Oh, increasing the revenue from 10,000 to 17,500. Just because 20,000, I did a test point with her, and it's a weird touch thing that, with energy. And so when we did it, we found that she didn't believe that she could actually make $20,000 with her ebook. So we reduced the price until she just got to that tingly stage. And so, the total revenue, and we found that 17,500 was where she felt it was achievable. So that's how we ended there. So the end goal is, increasing the revenue of her ebook from 10,000 to 17,500 by November 30th, 2019, and then she'll have lots of money to spend on Christmas. Now, this is a cool quote. And the reason why I like it is because it emphasizes one of our key takeaways. So thoughts disentangle themselves, passing over the lips and through pencil tips. And the reason why I like this quote is because my top tip for you is that goals must be written down. Research has shown that written goals are more likely to be achieved. 42% of people are more likely to achieve their goals just by writing them down. Because writing them down forces you to get clear. So a piece of paper is more concrete, it's more permanent than a thought. Putting your goals in writing will help them become a reality. Also, I mean, we all learn differently, we all absorb information differently, and there's different methods. So thinking is one and hearing is another. So you could read it out loud to yourself, and there's a school of thought of read your goals out loud to yourself every day, and that'll tackle that subconscious being activated again. But just the simple action of actually writing it down with a pen and a paper and just scripting it out translates a tactile motion to your subconscious as well. So your action item at this point is to write down 7 to 10 SMART goals. Now, how challenging should we make your goals? I kind of touched on this a little bit when I was talking about the dimensions. And the answer to it is aim for discomfort. So nothing really exciting happens in the comfort zone. And that's where most people stay, right? Because it's kind of scary to step out of your comfort zone. But your grand adventures, breakthrough results, the place where greatness happens, they're not in the comfort zone. That stuff all lives somewhere else. You don't go to bed dreaming about more email. You dream about writing the book or traveling the world or, whatever it is. You never change your life until you step out of your comfort zone. Change begins at the end of your comfort zone. So remember, your goals need to be a little scary. But also be aware of having goals that enter the delusional zone. We're not all going to be Olympians. The key to success is to aim higher than the bullseye because it takes into account the resistance that will invariably occur, the drag that will pull you down. There's 3 negative emotions that will cause resistance. Fear, the fear of public humiliation, the fear of failure, whatever fears that you have. Uncertainty, because maybe you're not sure that you can see the path or actually achieve things. Or doubt. I don't have the right experience. I don't have the right resources. I don't have what it takes to achieve this goal. So guess what? These are just negative emotions, and they're actually a positive sign that you're on the right path. You just need to reframe them. They're signposts that you're on the right path. You really are where you need to be. So yes, they are negative emotions, but they're positive indicators. And if you don't feel any of these emotions, like I said earlier, your goals are too small. So your action item, make sure each of your goals is set in the discomfort zone. And now you have to build in some motivation or identify your why. And there's actually a handout that is associated with this one that that is available to people who attend the webinar. So very few people do this, but the step is vital. So the common question is, how can I stay motivated? And then we worry about our motivation sticking around. And it's always easy to have some passion about things when you first set out, but then it kind of wears off, right? Think about the gym. You go in January and you can hardly get to a machine, or you're waiting for the dumbbells or whatever. Or that Zumba class is packed. The gym is so crowded you can hardly move. But you show up in March and you're almost there by yourself. And the reason this happens is that people didn't set a compelling goal, a goal that doesn't move them. So you're not going to persevere, you're not going to move forward unless you actually care about the goal. So then you have to figure out, why does this goal matter to me? When you pursue a meaningful goal, it's actually exhilarating. And then when you accomplish it, it's even more exhilarating. But you will short circuit if it's not meaningful at all. So there's 4 attributes to compelling goals. It needs to be spiritually meaningful. Well, you don't have to use all 4 attributes. These are the attributes, and one of them should tie into your goal. So spiritually meaningful, not necessarily being a person of faith and accomplishing God's will, but what I mean is connected to a bigger why. So for example, some people run marathons to do fundraising. Intellectually stimulating, like a puzzle you need to figure out, or learning something, putting in your 10,000 hours to master something. Or something's emotionally energizing, like it just brings you great joy. Or physically challenging, like, you have a goal to be able to bench press 100 pounds and you keep pushing yourself until you get there. So your action item is to list 3 reasons why each goal matters to you. And it'll give you the motivation to get through what I like to call the messy middle. Now, how do I avoid overwhelm? Because let's see, I've got 12 dimensions and maybe I made 2 to 3 goals for each one and all that. And they're lofty goals, many, many lofty goals. And I now have a big why associated with it. But if they're too big, you can procrastinate and get overwhelmed, or overwhelmed and procrastinate. And when we try to accomplish too many things at once, we don't accomplish anything at all because, we just stall. And that's why it's important to narrow your focus. And it can be tough to do this. As you start working on improving your life, it can be exciting as you uncover things. And that's why it's tempting to set a ton of goals. But science says we can only focus on 7 to 10 things at a time. That's why our phone numbers are only, well, originally 7, but now 10 digits. It's because our brains can't hold more data than that. So let's say you want to set a goal to get healthy, and then you come up with a ton of sub goals like lose weight, drink more water, get more sleep, work out 4 times a week, eat better, sit less, because sitting is the new smoking, avoid fast food, get a personal trainer. So that's a big list of things to do just to get healthy, which isn't a super clear goal anyway. And just reading it kind of makes me overwhelmed. But by the time you have 10 goals with all these complicated lists, I mean, of course you're going to lose focus and accomplish very little. And that brings you to this. Man who chases 2 rabbits catches neither. You want to get clear on your most important priorities. Set a goal for each of them and then pursue them with laser focus. If you want to focus on a handful of goals that you can repeat from memory, that would make you more likely to complete them. So set 7 to 10 goals for the year, but being even more focused can lead to greater success. Choose a maximum of 2 to 3 of those 7 to 10 to focus on per quarter. because focused effort in one direction is more powerful than small effort in many directions. You'll make massive headway quickly instead of incremental progress slowly. So your action item, choose 2 to 3 goals out of your 7 to 10 to focus on first. And once one of those is accomplished, you can take one from the rest of your list of priorities and start working on that. So now that you have a list of focused goals, your next question is probably, well, how do I get started? Well, I've thought of that. Your biggest problem, the biggest problem that most of us have in getting started and achieving goals that we have for our lives is procrastination. And if the project is big or it's something you've never done before, it's way too easy to press a pause button and never get started. High achievers know that procrastination is your real enemy. It's keeping you from what you want. And studies show that excessive planning is also a fancy way to procrastinate. So that's why high achievers break big projects down into bite-sized pieces. So it's important to set goals, but eventually to get started, you, eventually, if you want to get started, you have to chunk it down into manageable pieces so that you can accomplish something in less than a day or at the most in a few days. So if your goal is in the discomfort zone, which we talked about, the chunk or next step has to be in the comfort zone, right? So it has to be something that isn't difficult to do. Like, maybe it's send an email or phone call to set up a meeting to, the little baby steps to get you to where you want to be. High achievers focus on the next step. They don't get distracted by trying to figure out the whole path. High achievers know that the path will become clear when things are in motion. So, for example, I have a goal of weighing 135 pounds in 18 months. And that seems really big to me. So I turned it into lose 1 pound over the next 2 weeks. And instead of all the stuff like exercising and drinking more water and all that other stuff that's on the list that I mentioned a little while ago, I did one thing. I decided to cut down on my sugar intake to about 50 grams a day. I'm not focusing on anything else but watching my sugar intake. And so far, I've lost 4 pounds and in this year so far. Now the next chunk is for me to add a little bit of exercise every day. And my nutritionist has told me that if I'm already walking my dog 3 kilometers in the morning and 3 kilometers in the evening, that doesn't count. You have to do more than what you're already doing. So that's, for me, maybe I'm adding weightlifting. I'm still trying to figure out that part, but you get the idea. You have to do something different than what you've been doing if you want to get different results. So all these things aren't much in the grand scheme of things, but it's achievable. And I didn't create some elaborate excessive plan, right? I just cut sugar, and that's worked for this month so far. And then I'm adding weight training next month. So your action step, identify one action step for each goal. And when I say each goal, I mean the 2 to 3 that you're focusing on. Now, how can I maintain momentum? Well, how many times have you written down your goals and you've never looked at them again? I know I've done it. But to be successful, you need to review your goals and track your progress on a regular basis, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly. Otherwise, it becomes out of sight, out of mind. That's why you need a clear plan to keep your goals visible. Now, you can read your goals out loud every day, like I mentioned earlier, or you can print out your goals. I've got mine in a plexiglass frame right beside my computer. So every time I sit down, I don't have to read the whole thing because there's something about, if it's in your peripheral line of vision, your brain's already read it anyway. So, it's already tapped into my subconscious. So determine how you will track your goals. So here's what we've covered so far. We discussed the 7 steps. So that's clarify your priorities, write down SMART goals, aim for discomfort, build in motivation, narrow your focus, determine next steps, and track your progress. And then I promised you I'd give you the one single strategy that will instantly make you 42% more likely to accomplish your goals, and that is to write them down. And then the beliefs that you have that are holding you back from bigger results are based in fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And then the dimensions to consider in setting your goals, well, I gave you 12. Remember, these are mine, and you can set your own. Just in case you didn't get them all down before, they were important relationships, friendships, adventures, environment, health and fitness, intellectual life, skills, spiritual life, finances, career or business, creative life, community contributions. And then you need to set SMART goals to keep yourself motivated when you feel stuck. And that is specific, measurable, action, realistic, time-bound. And then lastly, you need to know why the goal is important to you. So the truth is, no matter what's going on around you, the year is a blank canvas. The most important things are yours to improve. Remember that the most important things are in your control, and it's easy to get discouraged, but when you focus on what you can influence, it will be a spectacular year. I want you to spend a moment now and reflect on what a win it would feel like at the end of the year when you've accomplished your 7 to 10 goals. Imagine getting into the end of the year knowing that you've accomplished what matters most. What will it feel like when you've lost 20 pounds or 70 pounds? How will you feel when you're in the best shape of your life? Imagine pulling on the jeans you have on now and you are swimming in them. Or imagine you get to the end of the year having read 24 books. And how what you learned from reading those books impacted your professional life and the quality of the conversations you're having. You'll have all these new ideas that you didn't have before, just from reading a book. What would it take to really take your important relationships to the next level? Imagine having a relationship where you couldn't wait to spend time with your spouse. Imagine knowing and being known. Understanding and being understood with someone who shared your most important priorities. Imagine being with someone who offered you the support and encouragement that others only dream of. Or what would it be like to have money left over at the end of the month? Think what it would be like to be debt-free, owing nothing to anyone. What would it be like to have the money to meet your expenses, protect yourself from the unexpected, and still invest for the future? Think how satisfying it would be to give your family the things they want and deserve. So let's go back to the beginning when you decided to sign up for this webinar. Why did you decide to attend? I mean, most people do it for a few reasons. You want to live a life that matters and to reach your potential, but there's just too much to do and too little time. The important things are falling through the cracks. You know you're capable of more, but it feels like time's running out. And you don't want to just survive, you want to make meaningful progress towards something that matters. There's a reason why you're interested in this and you're motivated to show up and why you're still here. So, what can you do to get the help you need to win at this game of goal setting and achieving your goals? Well, accountability coaching is something that I do, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about that. So, who uses accountability coaching? Well, career-minded professionals, people in transition, entrepreneurs, business owners, freelancers, basically anyone who wants success in reaching their goals, projects, and vision. And what can you get with it? Well, you get clarity on your goals, action plans, weekly check-ins, feedback and brainstorming solutions, some email support, and one-on-one coaching. But sometimes people don't want to do all that. So what I've created is a complimentary Facebook challenge. And here's how you can get there. Our challenge is starting on February 2nd, and people are going to be going at their own pace. So feel free to join anytime after February 2nd, and you can have a sample of what it is like to do accountability coaching. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this webinar. I hope you have a great time with your goals.
Thank you, Michelle, for sharing your strategies on setting SMART goals, especially your take on your 12 dimensions. They're very interesting, and your key takeaways more than enough for people to get started on setting their own SMART goals. If you're interested in learning more about Michelle, visit her website, michellehamlin.ca. You can also find her details by becoming an Avanti member and joining the member marketplace for professional networking. You can find that at avantiwomen.com. Thank you very much.